You're a disgrace. My father roared. My name is Arjun Malhotra, and this is the story of how one lie stole 15 years of my life, and how the truth finally handed it back to me on a silver platter that I built with my own scarred hands. It started on a humid Thursday evening in May when I was 19 years old, top of my architecture class. Acceptance letters from IIT Delhi and NID stacked on my desk like golden tickets to the future. I pushed open the front door of our two-story house in Dehradun, and the air inside felt wrong, thick with something heavier than the monsoon smell drifting through the windows. My cousin Priya stood in the living room, 17 and shaking, tears rolling down her cheeks in perfect Hollywood timing. My parents flanked her like bodyguards. Mom's eyes were already red. Dad's fists were clenched so tight I could see the whites of his knuckles. Priya looked straight at them and whispered the words that detoned my world. "Arjun got me pregnant." I laughed because the idea was insane. We had never even been alone in the same room for more than 5 minutes. "Priya, come on, you know that's not true," I said, my voice cracking halfway through. But she buried her face in Mom's shoulder and sobbed harder, the performance Oscar-worthy. Mom let out a wail that could shatter glass. Dad's face turned the color of overripe tomatoes. He took one step toward me, and the vein in his temple looked ready to burst. "You're a disgrace to this house," he roared, the words booming off the walls like cannon fire. "Pack your bags and get out before I throw you out myself." I dropped to my knees right there on the Persian rug Grandma had brought from Kashmir. "Dad, please just wait for the baby, one DNA test. I swear on everything I'll prove it." He didn't even blink. "You will not drag this family's name through the mud under my roof." The door to my bedroom slammed behind me. I stuffed clothes into a duffel bag with shaking hands, my scholarship letters fluttering to the floor like dead leaves. In the hallway stood Ria, my girlfriend of 2 years, the girl who used to trace hearts on my palm during movie dates. Her eyes were wide with disgust. "I thought I knew you," she whispered, and then she was gone, the front door clicking shut behind her like a period at the end of a sentence I never got to finish. By sunrise, the entire town knew. Someone had posted it on the local WhatsApp group before I even reached the bus stand. Predator, liar, monster, the words followed me like stray dogs. I dropped out of school 2 weeks before finals, bought a one-way ticket to Delhi with the 500 rupees in my wallet, and never looked back. 4 cities in 4 years. Delhi to Mumbai to Bangalore to Hyderabad. I slept in my rusted second-hand Scorpio when I had one, on railway platforms when I didn't. Night shifts stocking warehouse shelves, day shifts hauling cement bags under a sun that felt personal in its cruelty. My hands blistered, cracked, bled, calloused, and finally turned into the hands of a man who could lift a steel beam without flinching. I learned everything the hard way. How to read blueprints upside down, how to mix concrete so it wouldn't crack in the monsoon, how to negotiate with suppliers who tried to cheat the new kid. 10 years after I left home with nothing, I started Malhotra Constructions. 1 truck, 3 workers, a second-hand laptop. Within 5 more years, we were handling government contracts, building schools and bridges across 3 states. The boy who once dreamed of designing skyscrapers now signed paychecks for 200 men. Success tasted like sawdust, dry and forgettable, because every night I still slept alone in hotel rooms that smelled of bleach and regret. Then one Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang with a number I hadn't saved in 15 years. My brother Vikram, his voice was hoarse. "Priya's son Aryan needs a liver transplant. He's 8, dying. I'm a match, same blood type. I'm getting tested tomorrow." I didn't sleep that night. The next call came a week later. Vikram could barely speak. "Arjun, the test says I'm not related to Aryan, not even a little." 15 years. 1 blood test. The lie cracked open like an egg under a hammer. Aryan was never mine, never had been. Priya had built an entire life on quicksand and the ground was finally giving way. My phone exploded after that. Mom left voicemails that dissolved into sobs after 3 words. Vikram sent texts that started with "I'm sorry" and ended with "please call." Even Ria messaged after a decade of silence. "I should have believed you." I read none of them. I deleted the voicemails unheard. I had built a fortress out of silence and I wasn't ready to lower the drawbridge. Then an email arrived from Uncle Raj, Priya's own father, the subject line simple. "Your father's will." I opened it with fingers that wouldn't stop trembling. "Your dad died 3 days before he was scheduled to board a flight to Hyderabad. He had hired a private investigator, found your company, bought the ticket, written you a letter he never got to deliver. He left you the lake house in Nainital, and 3 crore rupees he saved penny by penny after selling the ancestral land. He forgave you even while believing the lie because a father's love, he wrote, doesn't need proof. Come claim what is yours. I drove back to Dehradun the next morning. The town looked smaller, the mountains closer, the air colder. The lake house stood exactly as I remembered it from childhood summers, only now the paint had peeled, the porch sagged, and ivy strangled the walls like green fingers. The lawyer handed me the keys and the bank papers without ceremony. 3 crore in fixed deposits, the deed in my name. I walked inside, and the smell of damp wood and old memories hit me like a wave. I sat on the dusty floor and cried until my ribs hurt. That night I found myself in a roadside bar on the outskirts of town, nursing a whiskey I didn't want. A man slid onto the stool beside me, Imran, Priya's husband, lawyer, face lined with exhaustion and something that looked a lot like rage. "Tell me everything," he said. So I did. Every freezing night in a car with frost on the windows, every blister that turned into a callus. Every time I stared at a blueprint and saw my father's handwriting in the margins from when he used to sketch dream houses with me at age 10. Imran listened without interrupting. When I finished, he slammed his glass down so hard the bartender flinched. "Sue her. Defamation. Slander. 15 years of lost wages, lost opportunities, lost family. Make her pay every rupee she stole from your life." I hired advocate Meera Sharma the next day. She was sharp, ruthless, and believed my story before I finished the first sentence. We filed the case, Hayes versus Malhotra, Civil Court, Dehradun. The trial lasted 14 days. The courtroom was packed every morning, same faces that once crossed the street to avoid me now craning their necks for a glimpse of the prodigal monster turned victim. Priya sat at the defendant's table in a plain cotton sari, no makeup, no jewelry, looking 10 years older than her 32. Imran sat 3 rows behind her, arms crossed, face stone. The judge ordered a public apology as part of discovery. Priya stood, hands shaking, and read from a single sheet. "I, Priya Malhotra, knowingly and maliciously accused Arjun Malhotra of fathering my child when I knew he was innocent. My lies caused his expulsion from home, the end of his education, the destruction of his reputation, and the loss of 15 irreplaceable years. I am deeply, irrevocably sorry." Her voice cracked on the last word. The jury took 4 hours. Verdict: 1,50 lakh in compensatory and punitive damages. The gavel fell and the sound echoed inside my skull like the starting gun of a race I had already won. Outside the courthouse, my family waited on the stone steps. Mom looked frail, hair gone completely gray. Vikram stood behind her, eyes red. "Arjun," Mom whispered, reaching out. I stopped 5 feet away. "You believed a 17-year-old's tears over your own son's pleas. You paid for her IIT tuition while I slept under bridges. You sent Christmas cards with her perfect family while I forgot what a family felt like. 15 years, Mom, you don't get to fix that with a hug." Vikram stepped forward. "I was 21, scared, stupid. I should have demanded the DNA test day 1. I can't undo it, but I can spend the rest of my life trying." I laughed, bitter and short. "You had 15 years to try. You chose silence." I walked past them to my Scorpio, engine roaring to life before they could form another word. The drive to the lake house took 40 minutes. I spent the next 6 months turning it into something alive. New cedar shingles on the roof, floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the sunrise like a painting, a dock that stretched 20 feet into the water with 2 Adirondack chairs painted forest green. I refinished the fireplace mantel myself, carving tiny sailboats into the wood because Dad used to say the lake was our ocean. One October morning, Vikram's pickup rattled up the gravel drive. He carried a flat package wrapped in brown paper. "Dad's old sketches," he said. "The ones you drew when you were 10, talking nonstop about building treehouses that touched the clouds." He kept every single one. Inside was a letter in Dad's shaky handwriting, dated 3 days before the heart attack. "Arjun, I was blind with rage and pride. I searched for you for years, but cowardice kept me from knocking on your door. The lake house is yours, always was. Build something beautiful, something that lasts. I love you, son. Sorry is too small a word, but it's all I have left. Forgive me if you can. If not, live well anyway. Love, Dad." I read it on the dock at sunset, fireflies blinking on like tiny lanterns. For the first time in 15 years, the weight on my chest felt liftable. I started the Arjun Malhotra Scholarship the next week. 10 lakh every year for students who had been wrongly accused. Kids who needed someone to believe them when no one else would. I paid Arian's hospital bills anonymously through a trust, Every rupee of the remaining settlement money funneled into keeping an innocent boy alive. Priya's apology ran as a full-page ad in the local paper. The online comments were brutal, but I didn't read a single one. Imran filed for divorce the same week. Word was he moved to Mumbai and never looked back. Ria texted one spring afternoon. Saw the house featured in Architecture Digest. It's stunning. Coffee sometime? No pressure. I stared at the message for an hour, then typed, one day, the lake house filled with life that summer. Colleagues from the company, new friends from the city, laughter bouncing off the rafters. I hosted weekend barbecues on the dock, the smell of tandoori chicken mixing with pine and lake water. My company broke ground on a new university campus, the largest contract in our history. The scholarship awarded its first 3 recipients, bright kids with stories that echoed mine. One evening in July, I sat on the dock with a cold kingfisher, Dad's letter folded in my shirt pocket. The sky burned orange and purple. Fireflies danced. A breeze carried the scent of wet earth and possibility. I was 34 years old, solvent, respected, and for the first time since I was 19, unafraid of tomorrow. The lie had taken everything: family, future, faith. The truth gave me more. A home I rebuilt with my own hands, a legacy I chose to create, a peace I earned one hammer swing at a time. I am Arjun Malhotra. I was banished with nothing but a duffel bag and a broken heart. I returned with scars and a fortune and a house that finally felt like home. And the lake house? It stands strong, quiet, mine, a testament that some stories don't end with the lie. They begin when the truth finally speaks. Thank you for watching my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and press the bell icon. Stay tuned for more real-life stories, get more experiences.